Hello. So, after a long time, it feels like about 10 years, probably about 3 months, the Formula One season 2022 has kicked off. We have had our first race. It was the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it was interesting in a few ways. There's some key talking points that I want to talk about in this video. There's a few teams that have done exceptionally well, and a few teams which we really hoped would do better. So today I'm just going to give a quick rundown to 5 of the key talking points ahead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Kevin Magnussen made a return to the sport to replace the ousted Nikita Mazepin as of the start of the season, and he had an absolute stormer. They were given extra time by the FIA to run tests so they weren't left behind. And on his first run, Magnussen went P1 in his first day of testing. And that shocked a lot of people, I think, because no one expected the Haas to, of course, be that high given the last few seasons. But also, it's amplified by the fact that Magnussen hasn't driven an F1 car for near as good as 17 months. Obviously, he got dropped at the end of the 2020 season in favour of Mazepin. So, for a guy that's not been in the sport for that long to come to a car that's historically been not competitive at all, to come and punch that sort of time in, people may have just thought that they were perhaps a one-off. Maybe it was just because other teams hadn't done quite the same sort of pace in the day. But then we go to qualifying. He out-qualified a Mercedes. And at that point, people's ears start to prick up because they thought, well, maybe what if Haas are actually good? But of course, you don't score points for qualifying, you score points in the race. But then the race came along and he smashed it there as well. He finished P5 and people were just thinking, what is going on? Like, Gunther Steiner went mental, and rightly so. I would as well if that was my team and I've been through such a hard time. But it's just incredible the turnaround that they've made with these new regulations, and it'll actually be really interesting if they can keep it up. So maybe keep an eye out for Haas for the rest of this season. Another team that seemed to have got a really good handle on the regulations is Ferrari. The red team with the red cars were on top form. They smashed qualifying with the pole, and then the race worked beautifully for them. Leclerc drove a fantastic race. He held off Verstappen for as long as he needed to, and then he obviously had to DNF. But I think even without that, Leclerc would still have won the race quite comfortably, and Sainz would have got his podium. So that makes for a Ferrari 1-2. And I think it's the first time that Ferrari won a race since Singapore 2019. I mean, for a Ferrari team, that's unforgivable, and it is just the start of what they will hope to be a really resurgent season. But they've got off on the right foot, they look quick, they scored their 1-2. Carlos Sainz drove a fantastic race too, and I think that team will only get better, and we could be looking at a serious title battle between at least 3 teams if Mercedes can get it together. Now, talking of the Mercedes, they had downplayed their chances a lot at the end of testing. Their qualifying performance was weak. Hamilton put it on the 3rd row, and George Russell could only manage 9th, which you could pin some of that down to start with the new team, but we know George is quick. He put the Williams in Q2, of course, many times in his career with Williams, and earned the title of Mr. Saturday. So we know he's got good one-lap pace. I just think that car isn't quite there with the regulations yet. I think other teams have got it a bit better, but it's Mercedes. They're formidable. I'd be surprised if they didn't get around that and if they didn't improve the car over the course of the year. They seem pretty confident that they can, but it's not going to be a quick fix, Hamilton said to himself. But when he said that he thought that they won't be competing for wins at the start of the season, people just got, those boys. But it really does look like they're going to struggle for the first few weeks of the season. Yes, they had a good race, but they wouldn't have made the podium in normal circumstances because you wouldn't expect a double DNF from Red Bull every week. Red Bull. What happened to Red Bull? They showed so much promise in qualifying. They've had a rapid car, and when it comes to the race, they looked very strong. Verstappen was challenging for the win the whole time. Perez looked very comfortable for his podium, and then it all just went a bit Pete Tong. We don't really know what the issue was, or at least I've not seen what the issue was. I don't know if they released it somewhere and I've just missed it. But they did say it was the same issue on both cars. So there's a real concern there for reliability, which is a genuine problem for Red Bull this year if they want to challenge for the title, because one race in and they've already got no points when really they should have been second and third. So they're already behind on points, and one race where you don't finish in the points for the Drivers' Championship in particular is one race too many. And I'm not saying that it's already over. Obviously, there's a lot of races to go, but it's not the best start, especially when they were in such strong positions. So I think if they can get a handle on their reliability issues, they are still obviously going to be massive contenders for the fight. They're still not the Constructors' Champions because Mercedes had that title. So in their defence of that, Mercedes have to really catch up quickly to Red Bull and Ferrari because they look like the two form teams at the moment, despite the Red Bull double DNF. And then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you've got the Papaya team. And it makes me sad because they made such good progress over the course of the last few seasons. And it looks as if they might have gone backwards big time. We don't know for sure. We don't really know any of this for sure after the first race. We'll get a better idea probably about April, the end of April, start of May, where the teams actually are. But it's not a great start. They looked good in testing. Hamilton himself said the red team and the orange team, referring to Ferrari and McLaren, looked quick. And then we just didn't see any evidence of that on the racetrack on the Sunday. Or on a Saturday, to be honest. Both drivers seem to struggle with the car. And I'm not sure if they've got the performance there that they just need to unlock. I don't know if the setup was just wrong for Bahrain. We know it's a very hot circuit. It's in the desert, for crying out loud. So maybe it's an issue with the heat. I'm not sure. I'm not working for the team. But it seems as if there is some sort of problem fundamentally with the way that car is designed so far that they need to alter. And whether it's doable or not over the course of the year, I don't know. They will try, obviously, because they want to get the third place back that they won in 2020. They lost that in 21 to Ferrari, who finished third, but they'll want to be in that top three again this season, and they'll want to continue their positive progression, especially for Lando Norris, who signed that monster contract with them. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll just have to have their main battle with Haas and Alpine for the majority of the season, try and win that midfield, try and finish fourth, and then next season we go again. So that's sort of the 5 key talking points that I could pick out from the Bahrain Grand Prix. Saudi Arabia is next. It looks like it's going to be another tight battle. We don't know how these cars perform on street circuits yet, so it'd be interesting to see how each team does get on in Jeddah, and if the 3 teams that I mentioned in positive lights can get on with their fantastic form. It'd be also interesting to see if Red Bull can solve their reliability and show that it was just a one-off, or if it might be a gremlin through the course of the season. And Mercedes, keep an eye on them because you can never, ever count them out. Thank you very much, and goodbye.